Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bharti Mezuria. I'm the practice lead for management consulting and development here at BAASS. And again, thank you all for taking the time to review our webinars today. So in the next few minutes, what I'm going to talk about is this product called BAASS Time that we have created here at BAASS. And our goal behind developing this and offering to our payroll clients is to help them gain efficiencies preparing their time cards. So I'll have a short PowerPoint presentation and then I'll show you a demonstration of BAASS Time and how the time cards are created in Sage. You saw the Manusonic solution in the previous session. So BAASS Time is really a little baby sister version of the BAASS Manusonic product. So with BAASS Time, what we allow our clients to be able to do is schedule employee time. So, you know, if you have multiple work locations like a production area and office area, we let you define the employee schedule to say so and so will work at this location at this times and so forth. We are also able to integrate the BAASS Time with your own scheduling system, so you're not having to define your schedule within BAASS Time. You can actually bring the time schedules from your external solution, whatever that you're using, into BAASS Time. It is fully integrated to Sage 300, so you know, as you're booking your schedules or your actual time in BAASS Time for your time card generation, if somebody enters a new employee in Sage, you will see the employee appear in BAASS Time right away instantaneously. So we have real-time integration with your Sage product. So what we found is normally our clients would collect the employee schedules in terms of what they need to work as a work pattern, and then they would collect the actual time. And like I said, you can use BAASS Time to enter this data in BAASS Time, or we can connect it up to your external system for whatever you're using to bring your schedule data and your actual time. And what we help you do is define rules for your overtime calculation, your union dues, if any, your stat holiday pay, or even any special pay that you have. So for example, if you have a different rate of pay for somebody working in the production area versus the admin area, then we are able to tie the actual time worked to the appropriate rate, so that with the press of a button, when you're ready to create the time cards, BAASS Time will apply the correct pay rates and calculate your time cards accordingly in Sage. We are also able to put in some specific business rules to create your time cards, such as if you had any special allowances or pay rates, again, based on your shifts, then we're able to configure the shifts by employee or by location or by class or any other grouping criteria that you are able to use from within Sage 300, and we are able to tie those criteria to a pay rate. Even for overtime calculations, if you have day shifts and night shifts, and you have different rules applying for the coverage in the night hours, for example, and the employee has worked more than anticipated, we are able to track all those different rates so that you're not having to do any manual calculations when you have to calculate your payroll. And as I mentioned, you are able to set up all these rules by work location. So if you had multiple work locations and you needed different rules, we are able to do that with BAASS Time. So really, as an end result, our goal with BAASS Time is to help you create time cards quickly. We would connect up to or let you enter the time. We would define all the business rules once, and then when you're ready to calculate your payroll, you press a button and your time cards gets collected. We make it a repeatable process. So let's say you've collected your employee schedule time, your actual time, and you've defined your business rules. You go ahead and create your time cards, and you go, oh, I made a mistake. I just forgot to update the last legislation that changed, you know, a few weeks ago, and that's okay, because all you do is you press a button again, it'll delete all the time cards automatically and recreate based on your changed business rules. So we try and make it very user-friendly to, number one, define your business rules, number two, calculate the time cards, and number three, make the whole process very easy and repeatable. I would like to share with you a client story where we actually implemented BAASS Time and the time savings there. So this particular client has 1,200 employees. They have weekly payroll, so you can imagine, and it's all hourly. And because they are based in United States, different taxes apply, local taxes as well as federal, and different overtime rules. So what they do is they have an external time tracking system. We've connected BAASS Time to that external system, and what we do is we pull the employee's scheduled time and actual time, and we apply all of the rules and help them calculate or create time cards in Sage for about 280 stores, 1,200 employees, and in a matter of minutes or hours. So you can imagine how much time saving there is from being able to create the weekly time cards for 1,200 employees, so many stores, using an automated tool. So we consider this to be a great success story. And again, it's just an example as to how you can use BAASS Time creatively to manage your payroll cycle and time card creation. So with that, I'm going to move to the product demonstration. And what I have here is the BAASS Time screen, and you're able to obviously set up your user authorization. So who can enter time, who can enter scheduled time versus actual time, who can override time, because you may be connected to an external system, but once you bring the time in, you may want your supervisors or managers to review and override. So all the rules and the access roles, you're able to set up that in BAASS Time. Just to quickly show you, you're able to set up your own pay schedules. So whether you're weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, it's totally flexible. You're also able to set up your break time. So when we calculate the actual time worked, there may be times, not just break time, but any other time where you may say, for the admin group, they get a break for about an hour for lunch. For the people working in the production area, maybe they get 2 breaks, each of 30 minutes and so forth. And what this helps us is be able to calculate productive time. So we will deduct any break time based on the rules that you've specified, and we deduct that from the productive time so that when we create the time cards, it's just for the actual work done. Here's another screen that I want to just touch on. I had mentioned that you as a user are able to enter your employee schedules, or we can connect BAASS Time to your external scheduling system. Now, without going into the technicalities, your external system can provide data in many different ways. And we've tried to make the data connections very not hard-coded. So what you can do is you can say, an employee in my BAASS Time represents so-and-so field in my system that is collecting the schedule data. So it's all very configurable. We do not hard code any connections to the system that is doing your scheduling or collecting your actual time. So it makes it very easy to roll out this solution, only because we are able to quickly connect it up to your time tracking systems that may not be necessarily Sage solutions. So as I mentioned, you're able to define so many other rules, such as here's how I want to calculate my overtime, here's how I want to pay the different rates to the employees, and so forth. But as a workflow, I'm going to just go into that now. What you're able to do is, and I just have some sample data that I'll bring up to show you. So what I've done is I have brought in, I've connected BAASS Time to an external scheduling system, and I've just imported the scheduled time for each of these employees. And what I have here is time in, time out, time in, time out, and I'm able to define my week, working week. In this case, I have Monday through to Sunday. As I can see that there was some scheduled time on Sunday as well. And I'm able to define my work schedule, and I have brought in my scheduled time. I'm also able to, if I had the permission to, as a manager override any of the schedule or delete, or I'm just going to go ahead and press F5 here. And I had mentioned that BAASS Time is integrated to Sage 300 real-time, and you must all recognize this screen. This is the screen from payroll, and what it's doing is displaying employees from your Canadian payroll. So if the payroll person added a new employee in Sage 300, and if I pressed F5, I would see that employee right away without having to do any kind of sync, right? It's completely real-time. What you enter in Sage is what you see here. So I have 3 ways of entering the schedule. I can manually enter, I can import from an external system, or I'm actually able to even copy from previous weeks. So there are different ways to populate your schedule. Similarly, once you have your schedule, then typically the next step would be, okay, what is the actual time that the employees worked? I'm going to bring up the sample that I had imported earlier. So now what I have is the actual time that the employees worked. Again, in, out, in, out. I am going to go ahead and check this box that says show scheduled time. And now it's saying on Monday, this employee was scheduled to be in at 10 to 12, and he actually did work the same hours. But if I scroll on the right, if there are any exceptions, then it'll visually highlight those by providing the numbers in red to say there's a difference between the scheduled time and actual time. And if you had configured BAASS Time for the managers to review and approve, they are able to change, override, and so this is just a visual guidance to say, was this the case? Did you need to override the time? Same as the scheduled time, I'm able to manually enter the actual time, or I'm able to connect to your system that is collecting your actual time. If you have a time punching system or whatever that is, we are able to integrate, or you're able to copy and make changes to your actual time as well. So the workflow would be, you've captured your scheduled time, you've captured your actual time, and then you would say, okay, as a supervisor, I've reviewed, again, depending on your role, I've reviewed the time cards for, or the time entry for these weeks. I'm fine, I'm ready to upload into Sage. We would actually give you a whole bunch of reports. Now, because reports are just reports and very easy to produce, I will not spend too much time, because in the next session, we have a tool that's called the BAASS Web Query tool that generates all of the payroll reports in terms of, the schedule time, the actual time, the variance, pre-payroll report. So even before you have uploaded data into Sage, you're able to see what your time cards will look like and so forth. So we have a tool where you're able to generate all those different reports. But when you're ready to upload the time cards to Sage, then I did actually lock my my timesheet. So I'm just good. So I had previously locked and uploaded, so I don't have anything to lock. But the process would be the supervisor would review, print the reports, and like I said, there's no limit to how many reports you can print. You are even able to see a payroll pre-check register like report in the BAASS reports web reports tool, and then you go ahead and lock to say, okay, I'm now ready to lock my timesheets. So in this case, if I just go back to my I'm able to unlock, and I would be able to see what timesheets are available to be uploaded again. Once I do that, my last step would be, okay, I have now reviewed, I am ready to go ahead and upload my time cards in Sage. And once I do that, and once I upload my actual time, this is when it will take my business rules, it will take my actual time that I've entered to say these are my 10 employees or 15 employees that worked during this time, apply my different rates the way I want it to, and it'll upload my time cards into Sage. So when I go into the time card list, we would tag the time cards with a prefix as sys. and whatever I had the sample, May 15th, I had uploaded earlier. And if I drill down into the employees, you're able to see details because I've set up my employees to be hourly, and this is how I want my time cards to be created. It'll show for each day the hours they worked, and if there was any rate difference for because they worked on a Sunday, it would calculate the rate for that day differently and bring the rate accordingly. Also, if you had any overtime rules configured or stat pay holiday, it'll calculate and say, okay, on such and such day, this employee worked 9 hours. He was only scheduled to work for the 7, and therefore the 2 hours are considered to be overtime. So you as a payroll person who has to calculate payroll, you do not have to do any manual sort of overrides at the time card level. If there are any corrections, then you're able to do within time card. Now, let's say you've done this, and now at this point you say, all my time cards are incorrect. You do not have to delete these time cards manually or even change them manually. You would simply go to BAASS Time and repeat the process, and that's why we have the lock unlock. You would just simply go and say, I've gone ahead and done that, but please unlock for the month of May 15th. I have one for the 8th. And when you do that, and when you go ahead and upload again, then BAASS Time will delete all of these time cards and recreate them with the revised business rules. And that's what I mean by it's a repeatable process. It's not like, oh my goodness, I'm going to upload the 1500 time cards, and if something's not right, then I'm stuck editing every single time card. It's not the case. You do this process, repeat, it'll delete, and that's why we identify them using a prefix sys, so we're able to delete them and recreate based on the corrected business rules. And with that, that concludes my demonstration and presentation for BAASS Time. So I'm open to take any questions at this time.
I do have some questions that have already come in, and just a reminder, if you do have any questions, to type them within the question box. First one I have is the application limited to importing Excel type files only?
No, we have the ability to import Excel, CSV, fixed length, XML files, and we can even read directly from another system if they provide us the API access. So there are multiple ways of reading the data.
Is it necessary to import files?
So as an end user, that would be your decision, and we would definitely be able to recommend once we know your situation in terms of what your requirements are. But typically, you would want to bring the data from your external system into BAASS Time so that you're able to calculate the time cards. Now, if you don't import, you simply can enter manually, using the BAASS Time screens, and we have different functions like, copy from previous line and things like that. So it really depends on your situation, but that's not your only choice of importing data. We have other options as well that we could potentially recommend once we know the details of the scenario.
I've noticed that you validate your import file every time. Is this necessary?
That's a great question. So anything that's integrated to Sage, the worry is always, will the data that will come into Sage be valid? Will it not corrupt my data? And there are so many such valid questions. When we as BAASS develop these solutions, our developers are trained by BAASS, so we need to follow certain protocols. And what the protocols tells us is that we need to follow certain processes and procedures to make sure whatever we write into Sage is valid. And one of the things we do is when we create the time cards, we make sure that the employee is valid, that it exists in Sage, that the employee is not terminated or made inactive, and all of the earning codes that we are bringing from BAASS Time into Sage are all valid, and that's why we actually do the validation prior to us creating the time cards in Sage.
Can I manage my employees with BAASS Time?
So the answer to that would be no. BAASS Time is an add-on to manage your employees' time and time card calculations. To manage your employee cycle, you would need an HCM solution for managing your employee cycle, such as hire, job details tracking, promotions, transfers, so forth. So you would need an HR solution to do that.
And the last question I have here is, what other kind of reports can be done with this application?
So whoever asked that question should attend the next session, because I will say we can do whatever you want, or you can do whatever you want yourself without needing, BAASS as your service provider. We have a tool called BAASS Web Reports that we offer a lot of out-of-the-box templates and reports, and then you're able to slice and dice the data the way you want. However, if you needed any specific format of the report, then we can easily incorporate that in BAASS Time. There's no issue as such.
It does look like that's all the questions that we have for this session. So I'd just like to thank you, Bharti, for presenting today.
Thank you very much all, and enjoy the rest of the day.